Where
All
are we
right, I
going
got a
next?
waiver wire pickup for you.
All right, what do you got? I
Is
want to
that where
hear
we're
it. I
going
want to
here?
hear your. I want to hear
I
your
only
waiver.
have one.
Okay, okay.
Gio Urshela. He's eligible at many positions in the infield for most leagues,
Sure.
for corners and middle infield.
Hmm.
Um, he's only rostered in 4% of Yahoo leagues. And to start the season, he's looked really good in Detroit, 381. He was a guy who wasn't guaranteed a spot, but I feel like he's played himself into almost like a full-time role with Detroit, 381 OBP. He's had a couple runs, couple RBIs. And honestly, I didn't really I totally skipped this category when I was doing my prep. So he's a guy who I thought of, and it fits. So I have a couple pictures for you when we get to the streaming pictures, but that's all I got for if you're looking on the waivers. I like Gio
Sure.
Urshela. He's a guy who's going to get on base for you, and their team has looked pretty good. Again, they lost to the A's, which how do you lose to the Oakland A's? I don't know. Um, that's baseball season, but you know their offense looks good so far. I'll say that, and the Tigers in general look good. So maybe if that offense is better than we expected, we could have some decent numbers from Gio Urshela.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I like it. I like it. The one that I went with this week is a pitcher who he's kind of on a team that you wouldn't want to go for, and that is Paul Blackburn of the Oakland Athletics. And the reason why is he's had two great starts, and he's 2-0 so far, which is wait, am I looking at the right numbers here? Hold on, sorry. 2024 1-0. I was like 2-0 doesn't sound right. The A's have barely won 2 games. And he's not going to give you high strikeout numbers, but he's looked good so far. He's had great control, just one walk through 13 innings, 7 strikeouts. I'm not expecting big things from Paul Blackburn, but in this very kind of up and down season with pitching, how it's going, Blackburn only being 45% rostered feels like a pretty good, you could probably grab him in most leagues. And, if you can trade for him or something, I think he's a good trade target because he's just going to be overlooked being on the Athletics. And I think important thing too is if you play in quality starts leagues, he's got 2 quality starts so far. So, if he throws his slider a little bit more, which it looked like he did last year, where he had a 22% strikeout rate, which again, not great, 22%. It's not going to, light the world on fire, but he could be a good back end guy, right? I mean, we're not expecting to pick up any aces off the waiver wire, but Blackburn can certainly be like a, back end of the rotation kind of guy. And, you get him against some good matchups. He could really, pop for you and win a couple weeks for you. So Paul Blackburn is one that I am definitely going to be chasing this week.
Yeah, I have for my pitchers to stream, I have a couple of ideas here
Okay.
because to me, this seems like a home run pick. They're 2 actually former Yankees, and that was not on purpose. Um,
No
but
bias.
yeah, one guy though, you mentioned he's not your guy not gonna be an ace. This guy has been an ace at times in his career. Frankie Montas. Um, and have you seen his start to the season? He's got 2
Yeah.
wins if you're in a win league already. He's got 2 wins, 9 strikeouts in 11 and 2/3 innings, a .77 ERA, so an ERA under 1 and a WHIP just over 1. They're playing the White Sox later this week, and he should get a start against them. I'm pretty sure he gets a start against them and the Brewers. So, you know, that should be easy pitching for Frankie Montas. And maybe this resurgence, he wasn't healthy with the Yankees. It didn't work out there. But when the Yankees traded for him, they thought they were getting a guy who at times in Oakland could have been an ace. Maybe this is a resurrection of his career in Cincinnati. So Frankie Montas is a guy who I'm looking at to start this season.
Sure. And I will say, so this next guy, he is a streamer for me because of who he's playing. And I do want to kind of tie him into the waiver wire pickups because I only had one and he was another waiver wire pickup of mine, potentially, depending on how deep your league is. And most people are going to balk at the name, but it is Martin Perez for the
Hmm.
Pittsburgh Pirates. His whip so far has been atrocious, but his ERA has been fine, right? It kind of depends on what kind of hits you can take, right? And so if you just need innings, right, he's not, again, another guy who's not going to give you high strikeouts, but in 11 innings so far with a 2.45 ERA, like I'm going to take that. And the reason why he's a streamer this week too is he's 38% rostered and he's going against the Tigers, which you know how much I love the Tigers, and you know how I think they're going to
Mhm.
do this year, but their offense has not been the reason why they're doing so well to start the
Outside
season.
of Gio
Mm.
Urshela, you know?
Yes, right, exactly. And so he's one that I'm certainly looking at. Did you have other streaming pitchers, or I got two more? Do you want to go with any of
I have
yours?
one more. I have one more, and again, these are the type of guys who you might drop them in a week, but you don't mind dropping them in a week. I saw somebody commented, I think, and was like, "Oh, well, you're not going to pick it." Well, it's okay if you have to drop them, and you're not saying this is going to be someone who's guaranteeing you a roster spot the rest of the year. It's another guy who's off to a decent start. He's only pitched one game so far. He might be starting today or tomorrow for the Texas Rangers. So if you're in a win league, again, good team. And that is Andrew Heaney, who's in one start had 7 strikeouts and 4 2/3 innings. Um, again, so that's good for him. The whip was low, only gave up a couple of hits in that start. And so good start again for Andrew Heaney so far. And like I said, a good team. We could see what happens. Again, he gave up 3 runs in the game, but it was only one of them were earned. So uh not a bad opportunity. Now I think they are playing
I was
Houston,
gonna
right?
say they're playing Houston, so
Yeah,
I'm not
so
I'm
it's a
not streaming
little
him
bit
against
tough.
Houston, right?
I don't love it, but um you never know. That's all. He's a lefty, tough lefty against that lineup. We have Tucker and obviously Alvarez in that lineup, both lefties. So the big boppers in that lineup are kind of lefty. So maybe he can neutralize them a little bit.
Sure,
Just
yeah,
saying.
that's fair.
And he's
Um,
a guy who, again, has been good at times. So maybe get on in. We talked about this last week. It's early in the year, early trends. Get in on guys early and then see where they take you. If you cut them, you cut them. It's not a big deal. But maybe it's like, oh my God, Frankie Montas is back to the guy that he was 2 years ago, and he's picked up already in your league. This is happening. It happens quickly. There was someone I looked up today, and I forget who it is now, but I was like, oh man, I want to pick that guy up, and all of a sudden he's gone because he's had a couple of good outings. So this is what happens in fantasy baseball. So it moves quickly. You got to find these guys as early as you can. Um, and maybe these are a couple guys you kind of steal guys that will be great for you the rest of the year. I remember last year, and this is maybe it's says something about my league, but I remember early on Blake Snell really struggled at the beginning of the year last year, and he was available on waivers, and I picked him
mhm.
up. I was like, all right, let's
I
just see what
I
happens.
dropped him last year. I dropped Blake
Yeah,
Snell last year.
let me
Yeah.
take a flyer on this guy. He's been a Cy Young Award winner at the time. He was the best pitcher like on my fantasy team by far. Now the problem with him is he walked so many people. It hurt my
Yep.
whip, and then also he wasn't getting a ton of innings, so it hurt sometimes with his quality starts.
Yep.
There were issues there with Blake Snell fantasy wise for sure, but he was a great. I mean, for picking him up on waivers in the end of April, like come on, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had dropped him for that exact reason. My league devalued walks. Like walks was an extra category, and so I was losing walks quite a bit. And like you said, he didn't start the year off too well, but then he started to hit a stride where it was just like a few really good starts back to back, and he started stringing them together. So
Remember, I told you how in my main league I I kind of had to punt on saves.
mhm.
I'm down 12-1 this week. You think I can get 11 saves today to win that category this week?
It's just saves, right? No holds.
No holds, just
Yeah.
saves.
Yeah.
I'm
You
down
could do it.
12-1.
You could
Yeah,
do it.
I think
Yeah.
there's like 8 pitcher spots. I don't know how I'm gonna get 12 saves today. Anyone have a doubleheader? All right, go ahead. You have 2 more,
Multiples.
so go to
Yeah.
both of them.
So this next one definitely is one that's the way he's thrown so far, he could be forcing a this is definitely a guy that you might pick up as a streamer and hold on to. And he is 7% rostered. And actually, believe it or not, Rami, he has been picked up in our league. So we got some pretty sharp people in our league, and that is Cody Bradford of the Texas Rangers. So if you haven't seen what Cody Bradford's done, you should start to look into it. He pitched originally against the Cubs on March 30th, and then again against the Rangers against Houston. He's on the Rangers on April 5th. And his outing against Houston was extremely impressive. He went 7.2 innings and only gave up 2 hits. He only had 4 strikeouts. Again, maybe not a huge strikeout guy, but so far this season, 12.2 innings or 12 2/3 innings with a 2.13 ERA and a .4 WHIP. Cody Bradford has looked phenomenal, and you absolutely need to pick him up this week because he's got to start against Oakland on Wednesday, and then his next opponent will be Detroit the following week. So he's definitely one. If he's not, if he hasn't been picked up by now, he should be. Again, only 7% rostered, so there's a good chance that he's available if you're in a Fantrax league. And Yeah, he's got a couple really juicy starts, and if he just shoved against, the Cubs, who they're okay offense, but then Houston, like, you got to pay attention to him. So he's definitely one, Cody Bradford, that I'm looking out for. And then this other one is probably one that I'm going to pick up this week and then drop, maybe depending on how well he does in his next matchups. But that is Trevor Williams, who, again, most people, right? You hear that name and you're like, oh, he's had some really bad stuff for seasons. And that's true. But so far, he's been pretty solid this year. I mean, he's had one start of 5.1, 5 1/3 innings, and he gave up 2 runs to the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that's okay, right? Pittsburgh's had a pretty good offense, but the thing that I really like about him, he's got a 2 stuck this week, so he'll face San Francisco on Monday, which not a very scary offense right now. They have potential, but they haven't put it together. And then the really juicy one would be next Sunday against Oakland. So if you can get 10 to 15 innings out of him, over those 2 starts, and maybe 10 strikeouts or whatever, the 10 to 15 strikeouts, and he only gives up 4 runs or 5 runs. I think that's a phenomenal kind of start to grab. And I think there's potential for more. So Trevor Williams of the Washington Nationals is definitely one that I'm going to pick up this week in quite a few leagues.
I like those two a lot, and maybe I could try and block you on a couple of those in your league.